Hey, everybody. All right. A little bit different show tonight. This part probably won't even make the podcast. So if you go listen to the audio version of this, you're not going to get it, but a little bit of different show, a little bit bare bones. We had to move some things around. We had to do some different things. All that is okay. And we're sort of testing out our new sort of time slot at 8 because my child goes to bed at like 7. So that's not a good way to keep Mrs. Pato happy. So we're going to try that. This isn't necessarily the way the show is going to be produced in the future, but for tonight, it will work for what we're trying to do. So we'll take a small little pause here in sound, and then we'll start up the show without any music. It's going to sound weird, and all that will be added later on the podcast. So hopefully everybody has a wonderful, wonderful night, and we're glad that you could join us at 8 p.m., a little bit later. COG After Dark. What do you know? All right, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, September 17th. The LA Galaxy getting ready to face off against the Colorado Rapids after a long, nice week off. Galaxy resting, fans resting. You haven't been frustrated in the last couple of days by trying to find a game that wasn't on Spectrum or was on Spectrum and you couldn't find it, so you haven't had that problem. You're going to have that problem on Saturday, but you didn't have that problem midweek because there wasn't a game. So if all that works well, we'll see how that goes. We have an update on Yoni Gonzalez we're going to give you. I don't know that it's a great update, but there's an update there. We have some more LA Galaxy news. We have some updates on some injuries. Really, the one injury that's left, we have a small little update on that as well. And then we're going to get you ready for this Colorado Rapids game. All right. To help me do all that, it's the Hammer himself, filled with, or he's locked in a house with screaming kids. It's sleepover night. So if you hear any, screaming, shouting, he's not keeping hostages, I promise. They're just kids having some fun. But it's Eric the Portuguese Hammer, who I must mention did change his Twitter handle, and it's really thrown me off so far. So I would like to point that out. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. I'm adjusting to life with a new Twitter handle after having my week off. And the Galaxy get a week off, so I got a week off. I was happy to hear Larry and Sophie the Cannon last week, and you're absolutely right. I have four children under the age of 8 hanging out here, 3 dogs, and then the wife holding down the fort. So you might hear some loud commotion. I think you mentioned it sounded like a bar. Definitely not a bar.
Not a bar.
It may sound like it, but maybe it fits with the ambiance of the show. So, got the week off, got a little bit of a different setup, new time. This is off the rails. If I could bring it back to the Discord, this is the live podcast version of Off the Rails. But happy to talk LA Galaxy soccer as always.
Yeah, you were talking earlier. You and I were texting about this Chick-fil-A quesadilla thing that you were talking about,
yes.
And it's kind of blown my mind. I don't know if you want to share that with everybody. I mean, you can if you want.
At this point, I have to share what my idea is. So, went to Chick-fil-A for dinner tonight. The kids like their nuggets, like their fries, waffle fries. So, as kids often do, there's some leftovers left behind. So I shared Josh this wonderful recipe. I'm going to share it with our beautiful listeners. You take the leftover chicken nuggets.
Yes.
Tear it apart. Cut it up. You take the leftover waffle fries, kind of cut those up, tear those apart as you need.
Right.
Get a tortilla. Lay a layer of cheese.
Okay.
Place the nuggets.
Yes.
Place the waffle on it. Another layer of cheese.
Right.
Then you go Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay.
Heat it up on the stovetop.
Right.
You have a Chick-fil-A quesadilla. Most delicious thing. You could thank me later.
Interesting. All right.
It's incredible.
I'm glad we got that out of the way. I'm glad that we could talk about that. That was important. I wanted to make sure everybody knew how important that was as we go. Little COG After Dark. All right. Yeah. That's what you get. What at COG After Dark, we get drink specials. Yingling is coming to the West Coast is the big news. So there's your drink specials. That's coming up. I don't know. I've never had Yingling, but I've been told that I should have it and that I will try to do it. So that's big news. And then you got your food. So you got your food and you can make your Chick-fil-A quesadilla and your Yingling. The chat room wants to know your cheese of choice. Are you going like with the Mexican blend that all the white people buy? Yes.
Yeah, I go with the white people taco night 4-cheese blend.
Yes,
yes. That's the preference.
That's solid. That's solid. Okay, good. Do that, and then you have your drink stuff coming on. So a little COG After Dark. All right, let's get to some LA Galaxy news. There's a lot of stuff going on. It feels slower because there wasn't a game this week. But it's not slower. There's things that are going on. There's some really crazy rumors out there that I cannot make any sense of trying to make sense of them, and I ask people and I get laughed at, but that's okay. I'm used to that. That's pretty much standard at this point. But let's start with some LA Galaxy news, and maybe something that's not exactly exciting for LA Galaxy fans. I don't think it's a big deal. So whenever you hear my take on this, I'm of the opinion it's not a big deal. I think it's weird, but San Diego State University, SDSU, the Aztecs will play college football at Dignity Health Sports Park in 2021. That would be spring and fall games will be played at Dignity Health Sports Park. This allows San Diego State to expedite construction of their current stadium. Basically, they're developing the land next to the stadium, and so they need to eventually knock down the stadium. It's one of those where like you build the new stadium in the parking lot of the old stadium, and then you have to tear down the old stadium eventually. And this is basically going to allow them to expedite that. Apparently, they tried to do it at Petco Park. But it's a baseball stadium. It's a horrible idea to try to play football in a baseball stadium. So that doesn't work. So now San Diego State will be coming up to Dignity Health Sports Park, and their new stadium is scheduled to open in the fall of 2022. So you're looking at basically a solid year of college football, maybe a little bit more. I would have a feel. I'm leaning towards there's going to be more college football than less in it. That new stadium they're building is a 35,000 seat multi-purpose stadium, and SDSU is hopeful this will allow basically them to expedite the timeline on all of these things. Galaxy, by the way, remain the primary tenant. I need to point that out. This isn't, even when the NFL came in, technically speaking, the Galaxy were the primary tenant in this, Eric. We saw some impacts. I saw it probably more than most, because after the games they would actually switch over the stadium and do all those things. I'd see them put them at the goalposts. I'd see they have a little robot out there that paints the lines. That's just the coolest thing ever, by the way. A robot that paints lines is still one of my favorite things. But they paint the lines, they do all that. There was some field wear and tear with the NFL doing that. We know that. I got told by players that sometimes it was bad. It was bad in a way that field is not normally bad. And so it was worse than it normally is, because it's normally really good. It's not like that horrible field up in San Jose that I think might have injured another Portland Timber on Wednesday night. So just a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, that's sort of where this sits. San Diego State coming to play football at Dignity Health Sports Park. Eric, good, bad? Wait, who knows, right?
Well, it's bad.
Good.
There's no question that it's not a good thing whenever there's American football being played in the stadium, and it's a little bit frustrating because you think, well, the NFL comes in, the Chargers need a home, and you mentioned it. There were some benefits of the NFL coming in, some money that they were using to rent the facilities, and that went to renovations to the Dignity, and that was a good thing. You saw the positive. Then once the Chargers announced that they were no longer going to be in the stadium, then you had the XFL. Wildcats announced that they were going to use it.
Yes.
So then we can't seem to get away with this. Then the XFL with the pandemic shutting down. So you think, okay, we're free of American football being on the field. Yeah. And then you get San Diego State. And where this is, it seems like it's almost, you get the raw end of the deal is with the NFL and the XFL. You felt like maybe there's a revenue stream and there's a positive thing that you can get from it. But with San Diego State, you don't imagine that maybe there's that same benefit that the Galaxy get from it with everything that's going on in the world right now. Maybe it's like a goodwill thing, and it's a relationship building thing, a business sense thing. And the Galaxy is probably getting paid some rent or in some form for them to utilize the field. But at the same time, you're going to have a torn up field, the different sport that has different wear and tear on the field. And it's not a great thing. The one area where I will give kudos was in the scheduling. When the Chargers played and when the Wildcats played, they did do a pretty good job scheduling it where the Galaxy would play on Saturday and then the football would happen obviously on Sunday, and then they turn over the field. And the field condition in recent years was better than it's been when other tenants have used the facility before. So whatever system that they had to change out the field or to improve the grass, it seems like it was improved, but it's never going to be perfect as if it were only Salker specific. So it's a bummer that they're going to go through at least another year of this. But it seems like there's an interest on the business side of this, how quickly they filled it with XFL, that they want to have other events and other tenants and bring in other revenue streams. And that's just maybe is the reality of the business side, that as a soccer fan, you're not going to be thrilled about it. But if you're running an organization, it's just going to be one of those things that you have to live with. And hopefully it's just seasonal, with the MLS season being different than the college football season. It's not going to be, it's not like it's a 34 game season. It's, 8 games max. and then we'll see how many other teams and other events happen there. At least it's not Wango Tango every weekend. That's the good news.
Not.
That's the one that really chopped up the field.
It's not. I'll say this, if you're looking at AEG and we talk about the problems that they've been having in terms of money and stuff like this is more money going into the coffers of AEG, right? This is a positive. When you have any stadium, you need to utilize it more than just the games you play it in, unless you're a baseball stadium, because, there's like 156 games and, it's way too many. By the way, everybody thinks I hate baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I love it. It's boring to watch to me anymore. I can't handle it. By the way, my mom over the weekend was complaining that football games, NFL games, last too long, right? The whole deal. And she's like a diehard baseball fan. Diehard Angels fan. I'm like, oh yeah, mom, it's totally, how long a baseball game is going to be. So, it's a lot better. Anyway, I will say that the money coming in and utilizing the stadium is normally and generally a good thing. This is still a upper level in terms of a lot of things, an upper level, football program. So they are paying money for this. I just want to know which San Diego State fans are going to drive all the way up from San Diego to go to, a stadium in Carson.
I have the answer for you. It's the same fans who drove to watch the San Diego Chargers, technically the LA Chargers. Those same diehards.
So there were 12. There were 12 of them. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I did reach out to the LA Galaxy / Dignity Health Sports Park, and they tell me that the Galaxy remains the stadium's primary tenant, and that similar to the Chargers deal, San Diego State University will work their games around the Galaxy schedules, and Galaxy fans shouldn't expect any changes or any issues with that. It'll basically be the same deal that they had with the Chargers or anybody else. If you imagine that the Chargers played second fiddle to the LA Galaxy, San Diego State is certainly going to play second fiddle to the LA Galaxy. The interesting thing is that college football plays a lot more Saturdays, and everybody goes, I already have the answer for this. MLS always screws with the schedule, and Galaxy hardly ever get any Saturday night games, so you really don't have to worry about that. But one of the things that people were talking about was playing on a Sunday whenever college football is played on a Saturday. That didn't happen whenever the Chargers were in. It wasn't like the Galaxy played a day after the Chargers played. They would usually play on a Saturday, and then the Chargers would play on that next Sunday. So the Chargers had the field already torn up from what the Galaxy did and not the other way around. I don't know how they're going to work that, but again, the Galaxy remain the primary tenant, so it's up to San Diego State to work around the schedule of the LA Galaxy. But just don't be surprised when there's a whole bunch of Sunday games, because MLS likes to do that, and it's just annoying and a pain. So that was sort of my thing. Did that cover what you were going to say?
Yeah, I mean, you covered it. I think the only issue, and you mentioned, is that when you have games on Saturday, the football happen after, so the football would have the soccer lines as opposed to vice versa, where San Diego State, maybe there'll be some Friday night games, some Thursday night games, definitely some Saturday games, maybe Saturday afternoon games, so you have a turnaround, so you could have a lovely Sunday evening at 7:30 game or an 8 o'clock game, which is exactly what everyone wants, although no one's going to games anyway, so what does it really matter what the schedule is if we're all watching it from home? So I'll be curious to see if San Diego State has to pull like a full-on the MAC conference that they play on like Tuesday nights.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Something like that. And then, but then you have to adjust, whatever conference they in, everyone would have to buy in with that agreement. So I don't know how it's going to work. We're probably going to see football lanes. I hate to say it. Hopefully they don't. We'll see some green spray paint covering it up.
Yes.
But it's not going to be pretty.
You know what happens whenever you spray paint over like white lines and then you can see the green paint? You know what you do? You just spray paint the whole field green, and then it's not a problem. And then, I think there was one play where like Dave Romney went sliding and all of a sudden his uniform was green, and you're like, oh, there's where all that paint is. All right, that's good.
I think that's good. A famous story of Pele when he played for the Cosmos in New York is that he played a game and they actually spray painted the grass because, Pele was in town, so they wanted to make it seem like they had actual grass.
Right.
And he goes in the locker room at halftime and he says, my feet are green. I've got to go see a doctor. And they're like, no, that's just paint. We painted
that's fine. You're good, Pele. No worries. By the way, I was corrected already, which is correct. Logan wants to remind me it's 162 games, Hammer. And I know you knew that. So you should have corrected me. So I blame you. That's the first thing.
Did you throw a number?
Yeah, I did. I said 156. I knew it was 162. My problem was I was thinking about. Still. Yeah, exactly. My problem was I was thinking about the shortened season in my mind. I'm like, oh, blah, 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 this many games and whatever. I was just trying to approximate 100. It's too many games, Logan. That's the correct answer. And again, I like baseball. It's too many games. Yeah, and Stephen was saying in this that two things Stephen has. One, he says El Pato, the starting right fielder slash left bencher. Left bencher. That was funny. No, I was a second baseman. I was a shortstop, and I was a third baseman. I was a utility infielder, but a starting second baseman. 3-year varsity letterman. Thank you very much.
Wow. Do you have
What?
the jacket? You should wear
Yes,
the
of course
jacket
I have the
next week.
jacket. Yes, we haven't we been over this? Didn't I tell you about this jacket? How I
I
can't
don't
wear
think
the
so.
jacket? So I never got to wear my Letterman jacket in high school because that was like 2 years or 3 years before that. They gave all of the band members letters for being in band, and so they wore all their Letterman jacket. And
You're
that
looking at someone who had a band letter and a soccer letter. So thank you
so
very much.
you were probably cool. So the problem was that apparently it was very not cool. And back in the high school days, you get a lot of pressure from a lot of different people. I certainly wasn't one of the cool kids, so it's not like I was going to wear my Letterman jacket. So I still have it. I will put it on probably once or twice a year and walk around the house in it just because I enjoy it. It's still way too big on me, but yes, 3-year varsity Letterman, have my jacket, got the whole thing. So I was pumped. And then the other thing we were sort of talking about and that I have been hinting at forever is I don't know if you got to see the Rams play at SoFi Stadium and how gorgeous that stadium is. And my dad was looking at it and he goes, "Hey, what do you think? You think they're going to play any soccer at the stadium?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I think the World Cup final is going to be there. That would be my guess." But the other thing is, I believe that El Tráficos will get played there, and I think that you could divide that stadium down the middle, and you could have one set of fans on one side, one set of fans on the other side, and it would be a glorious, glorious thing. You pay to bring in like a real grass field as well. You have to do it on grass. You can't do it on turf.
And that's what they would do for the World Cup. And I was actually able to take a tour of the stadium last year. Actually, funny enough, attending something an HR function with my wife.
Right.
Nothing I do is ever because of anything I do. I
No.
hop on your coattails. I hop
Yes.
on your coattails.
Yes.
And I make it all happen. So going through that stadium tour, they mentioned that the attendance is actually, they can adjust it for different games. So if they have a bigger playoff match, they can adjust the seating to fit it to more people. If they have a concert, they can adjust it so it's maybe a more intimate venue. So if you have something like an El Tráfico, if you sell enough tickets, you can expand the seating and make it even a bigger deal. If maybe our eyes are bigger than our stomachs, where you think you could fill a place, but maybe you can't, you could actually still have it in a really cool stadium in a neutral location and maybe a more intimate venue as well, but obviously bigger than what the stadium that LAFC plays at and that the Galaxy plays. So you still get more attendance, but you can still make it feel more intimate, like at a basketball game setting or a football game setting. So yeah. I think it'd be very cool to play, even if it's a preseason match, just to test it out, to test the waters before you make anything official with league play. I think it'd be cool to try to test out a match there and see what the turnout could be.
As I said, whenever I saw it, I can't wait to go to that stadium and cover a game. So somebody play some soccer in there so that way I can go there. U.S. men's national team, I can pull that off. That'll be fine. I could get in there and do that and cover that game. So it was fun to watch, but something to sort of look out for. By the way, if your wife and I ever got together, we would rule the world because we get to go to all the fun things, and then you and my wife will get to do nothing. So I would just like to point that out. So
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thanks for saying that on air and on a podcast. What a great friend. Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that hurt your feelings? I'm sorry. We'll continue on. We'll talk about Yoni Gonzalez. Let's talk about a guy who may or may not exist. Sometimes I feel like the LA Galaxy are getting catfished here. What were the dudes' names on MTV? I really like
Neve,
and the other guy. I can't remember what the other guy
Neve
was.
And the great guy.
Yeah, that dude. The chat room will pick me up on that. But still one of my favorite shows to watch. Whenever I was working out, I would always watch Catfish. But MTV, this feels like it because he's still not here. We got a little update. It was a weird update. I don't know how to take this, but Guillermo Barros-Schelotto was talking today at LA Galaxy Media Availability. Julian Araujo spoke. Emiliano Insua spoke. GBS says, basically, when he was asked about Yoni, he says, yeah, I talked to him today, which was a good thing. He was like, hey, I talked to him today. So whether that was text message, whether that was phone, he was in contact with him. And basically, he said, everything looks like it's in order and that he should be headed our way very soon. It's kind of the same thing that we've been hearing for weeks. So I'm not so sure that there's anything there. And then Dennis DeClosa mentioned in the LA Galaxy season ticket holder virtual town hall, there would be a quarantine period in there as well. We don't know how long that is. I'll tell you, Eric, you were sort of snooping around social media and you saw a picture tonight. What did that tell you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, he posted what looked to be a picture of him, like he's possibly going out for like one night, final night out. We also had some clues earlier in the week. The barber, he took some pictures with the barber. He is someone who dyes a streak in his hair. So he got some fresh dye in his hair ready to go. The barbers are usually the final clue that lets you know that they're close to coming. So the barber's there. Looks like he's going out for a night out on the town his last night. And whether, I don't know if he's still in Brazil or if he's in Colombia. We'll check whether the numbers are.
Brazil. That's what it was supposed to be. Brazil. Yes.
And Brazil's a little bit of a COVID hotbed right now. So maybe that quarantine period when he gets here will be well-deserved by the time he gets here. So what can go wrong? We're in a pandemic. Brazil's a hotbed for COVID. Let's go out for one night before we travel, do some international travel and come to another COVID hotbed. Who knows? Again, we're judging. It's Instagram. Yes. Who knows? Maybe he's going to wear his mask. He's going to be very safe.
Yes.
Maybe this is all a hoax. It's not real. And he's not going to catch anything. I'm covering all my bases. That way, whatever the Twitter hate is, I can get it from all directions here.
Maybe Yoni Gonzalez is just Jeff Cameron's fake Instagram account. What do you think? Yes? No? That was a good one. I enjoyed that one. Yoni Gonzalez calls himself Speedy, by the way. So you have a Speedy Gonzalez coming on your way to the LA Galaxy. I said the chances of him getting the Rona now just skyrocketed, knowing that one more night out, and then that's when it happens. That's when it always happens. So I think if this plays out the way that it has played out so far, he does finally arrive, and then he has to be quarantined for 14 days. So there are 13 games remaining, starting with a game this Saturday night against the Colorado Rapids. Eric, if you were a betting man, where would you place the over-under on how many games Yoni Gonzalez will be available for the last 13? And he's already missing this weekend, so you can count that one. So one for sure.
Yeah, if I had to place a number, I'd go eight games. I think another month before this shakes out, and they're going to have a game a week, so another four games minimum. So maybe 4 or 5 games go by before we get him. Maybe we're fortunate. The one confusing part to me is, we have all this talk about the teams testing and everyone being tested. If he's coming from out of the country to play on the team, yes, he may have to do the quarantine period, but if he's part of the organization, why can't they test him and just find out then and there? And is he good to go? Is he not good to go? But I imagine that it's, he doesn't get any special treatment, and it's just anyone who's new traveling to the country. Maybe that's just a protocol and there's no way around it. No special exceptions for athletes. So that could be it. But if the testing's available, that seems like that'd be a shortcut. So who knows? Maybe we have some government employees in the chat who can enlighten us.
It probably has a little bit to do with how the disease. You could pick it up in Brazil, travel with it all the way here, and you're not contagious, and it hasn't developed within you yet, and so you have to wait a certain amount of days. But I think for most people, that happens within 2 to 5 days. So really, you should have a good idea with 2 to 5 days. They give it up to 14 days because it can be up to 14 days. But it's an interesting one for all of that. So that's sort of where we sit on Yoni Gonzalez. I don't want anybody to sort of think that that has been resolved. There were rumors that he was traveling. I went and asked the LA Galaxy if he was traveling, and they're like, we don't know. That's not an official response, by the way, but they're like, I don't know. That everybody, and I literally text somebody about this every single day, and it's like I just go, "Here's your daily Yoni update. What's going on? What's going on?" But we don't. At this point, I've been told it is not a paperwork issue. It is not a soccer issue. It is more about when the government wants to allow it to happen, and that's your United States government, by the way, because really he's going to the United States Embassy that's in Brazil in order to be able to facilitate his move into the country. And we talked about Gonzalo Higuain coming in and basically being in the country within minutes of signing a contract. It's like, how did that happen so fast? Well, hey, guess what? He didn't. That didn't count. He actually came in on a business/tourist visa, and he has to go back out and then come back again in order to do it. So there's going to be some issues there with him. So he's not ready to play for Miami yet as well. So maybe we have to give the LA Galaxy a pass, although I was certainly ready to jump up and down on them because it's been so long. But I've been assured it's not a mistake. There's no problems. The paperwork's just taking a lot longer. It's more paperwork than they ever have had to fill out for anybody else. And it is your government in action. So those are your taxes going right there to not allowing Yoni Gonzalez to play for your LA Galaxy. I mean, if there's ever been a reason to overthrow the government, that might be it, Eric. That might be the one, is that Yoni Gonzalez can't come in from Brazil. I'm sure there's plenty of reasons. That's probably not one of the top reasons, but nonetheless, just wanted to throw that one out there.
We need to rally the troops and go after for the speedy Colombian winger. That's what's gonna cause change.
It's what the LA Galaxy need right now is that winger, so that way you can allow Julian Araujo to drop back into right back and play his position. It really settles the lineup, and you have 13 games remaining until the playoffs. That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in the final stretch of the season here. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. This is the final stretch.
Yeah, if this were a regular MLS season and you said there's 13 games left, you think, okay, this is the playoff push. This is where you want to, fight for seeding and positioning. So you're right. If he comes, it's almost like he's going to need to adapt very quickly and make an impact as quickly as possible. The one thing that I will not push back, but just add that I've mentioned before that when Chicharito arrived, he had similar issues where he had to train off to the side because he couldn't train with the team because all that paperwork needed to be done. So he was able to travel. Obviously, this was pre, all the pandemic and travel bans and things like that. So even without that, Chicharito took, I believe it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get everything settled, even though he was here and ready to go, which it sounds like there's similar issues going on with Higuain. So that's what makes it not the same. But we'd have to check the timeline. It seems like Yoni's it's been about a month.
He doesn't exist.
We found out. Yeah, it's crazy.
He doesn't exist.
We're being catfished.
Yeah, we are.
Is he here?
It's some white dude from Nebraska. All right, that's what it is. All right, and he's not fast. All right, he's gonna show up and be like, "I'm Yanni." We're like, "No, you're not." That's what it is. The LA Galaxy are getting catfished. Let's get to some of these crazy rumors, and they are crazy. Trying to make heads and tails of all this. The first one that sort of drops in here is the allocation ranking order. The LA Galaxy were rumored to be going after the top spot in the allocation ranking order. Top spot currently held by FC Cincinnati. Now, this is a list that allows you to bring back certain U.S. men's national team players who are subject to the allocation ranking order. Not everybody qualifies. Not everybody is allocation ranking order eligible. But right now, the LA Galaxy sit in 17th spot. FC Cincinnati sit in the top spot. So they might look at doing something with that in terms of it. But then the question is, first, we have to think does that make sense? Well, the LA Galaxy might have a target in mind, and I don't know who it is. We're going to talk about somebody. I don't know that that's it, but it could be, regardless of who the target is. It seems like if the LA Galaxy are interested in this allocation ranking order, they're doing it for a reason. So we have to decipher what the reason is, but clearly it's to bring somebody who's outside in. And that's the only reason you would move up in the allocation ranking order is if you wanted to do this. I think I remember Bruce Arena doing this, going after Sasha Kljestan. And then that fell through and didn't happen. And Bruce was sitting up there at the number 1 spot, but yet didn't have Sasha Kljestan. It may have been like the 2 spot or something like that as well. Like, and somebody was like, yeah, we're not going to take that dude. So it'll come down to number 2. And I think that might've been, was that when Dallas was up ahead? Was it Dallas who stopped that deal from happening? It was somebody stopped it from happening.
For some reason, Toronto.
I don't think it was Toronto. I swear to God, I thought it was Dallas.
I may be thinking Toronto because I think they traded for a top allocation spot to get Omar Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So
and
I know that was a system. Yeah, they needed to buy that spot from somebody,
right?
A U.S. national who was abroad and then came back. So he fit the billing. Yeah, but maybe it was the Red Bulls because isn't that where Kljestan ended up landing?
Yes, but I don't think it was them because that was a couple of years after because he ended up not coming from Anderlecht. Anyway, we all know my history with that particular rumor, so we won't talk about it anymore. Everybody already knows. But here is the rumor that is currently out there right now, and that it is former Seattle Sounder and Newcastle right back Deandre Yedlin. Could possibly be coming back to Major League Soccer. It was Roger Gonzalez who was talking about Yedlin and says, looks like he's set to leave Newcastle before the end of the transfer window. Sources tell CBS Sports that multiple MLS clubs continue to inquire and hope to land him on a free transfer. All right. This one is interesting, and you have to twist some things in order for it to make sense because it doesn't make sense on its face because you have Yoni Gonzalez supposedly coming in. You have Julian Araujo, who is an up-and-comer at the right back role, and you don't want to take any minutes away from him. So between those two things, those two players, what are you trying to do if you're trying to get Deandre Yedlin? 27 years old, primary position is right back, can also play right mid. Let's see. He was, I think Transfer Market has him listed as a current market value of $7.15 million. There's no way in God's green earth that dude is worth $7.15 million in Major League Soccer. So you have to throw that out as well. People are saying that he would come in as a designated player. There's no way in HE hockey sticks that Deandre Yedlin is going to come back and be, at least on the LA Galaxy, a designated player. He could go somewhere like Nashville. Nashville would make him a DP, that type of thing.
Yeah, you made the perfect point there, is that if he comes as a designated player, doesn't fit the Galaxy's billing of a designated player.
No.
So I don't think if the Galaxy are after him that they'd work out whatever salary to make it fit, that he wouldn't be a designated player. And positioning is the other thing. I like Deandre Yedlin. I thought he's someone who maybe didn't live up to the promise that he had, but that doesn't mean that he's wouldn't be a good fit on the Galaxy or wherever he lands. And you have to think of the way, Rolf Felcher and Julian Araujo, having them on that right hand side, giving you a defensive look and then a little more offensive. If you put Efrain Alvarez in there, he gives you less defensive. So if you have Yedlin and Araujo on the same side and interchange them or whatever you want to do, that's not bad. I don't know that I dislike that. It just doesn't seem like the Galaxy, it's a likely fit with the amount of money that he's possibly making with the allocation order. So I don't know if are they going to trade him? But then again, why wouldn't whatever club wants him trade for that allocation spot and then do the work from there? So it seems odd. If they are after him, then they'd want that spot because he's the only name that I've seen circle around that's going to be at the top of that list coming in.
Yeah. Okay. So let's make this work. All right. So let's say it's going to happen, which I don't think it is. All right. I think it's a long shot. But let's say it's going to happen. By the way, I think he was making about $1.2 million for Newcastle. So he fits very well into a TAM role if you're going to bring him back. And at 27 years old, he still has speed. I think he's remained relatively healthy. I don't remember any huge injuries things in Newcastle, but I've not been paying attention to Newcastle at all. So, and I don't think he's exactly tearing up the EPL and, Newcastle, whatever. It's just, it hasn't been happening. Having said that, he can play in Major League Soccer. You saw that. So let's make this work for a second. Let's pretend that he doesn't want to just go back to Seattle where he came from. Duh, that would be the most logical. The number one spot in Major League Soccer where Deandre Yedlin is most likely to land, Seattle. Okay, duh. He's also said that he doesn't want to come to the LA Galaxy. He said that on the BSI podcast.
He said that show. they get all the juicy of course level quotes there.
We've talked about this though. We know why. It's the former players, and they're going to talk to you differently than if we had Deandre Yedlin on our show. He's going to be all like, "Oh, well, these are unfortunately, I think
110% out there."
Yeah, exactly. Take it one day at a time. The whole deal. So. But he said he doesn't want to come to the LA Galaxy. It was probably the rivalry with Seattle and LA. And he's like, no, I'm not coming back there. Plus, the LA Galaxy has sucked in the recent years. So maybe I wouldn't want to come to the LA Galaxy either. They're turning that corner. Maybe they're being a little bit better. Bottom line is the players say lots of things. And then whenever the money's put out, it's sort of, well, yeah, I'll go there. Right. It's like, I will never go play for San Jose. And then they're like, oh, but here's the money. And they're like, okay, here I go. I'm going to go play for the Earthquakes. And then I will never play for the LA Galaxy because I'm with San Jose. No, you will come and you will play. And it doesn't matter where you go. And fans can decide whether they like that or hate that. But bottom line is a player's job is to get paid to play the sport. And that's what these people are going to do. So Deandre Yedlin says he doesn't want to do that. So Roger Gonzalez sort of put together a list of places more logical than probably the LA Galaxy. They're at the bottom of the list. But Seattle, Austin, Cincinnati, Atlanta, and then LA for the Galaxy. So it's sort of interesting that he puts those in that. But let's make this work for a second, all right? Here's one of the reasons that you would get Deandre Yedlin right now, knowing that you have Araujo and knowing that you have Yoni Gonzalez. Number one is Yoni Gonzalez is basically a temp worker right now. All right. You went to the agency. You said you need somebody to fill in while somebody else is on vacation. Right. And they sent you Yoni Gonzalez. All right. Very slowly, by the way. They're very slow on getting him in. But he's
USPS
a temp.
shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, United States. That's right. You got lost in the mail. No tracking information. Right. Exception alert. All those things. So by the way, if you don't deal with that stuff all the time, then that's not funny. But if you do, that was a good joke. Especially the exception alert. So Deandre Yedlin's coming in because Yoni Gonzalez isn't going to stay there, and you're going to play an expensive player because he's going to be a TAM level player. You're going to play him at a right mid role, and you're going to have Julian Araujo back behind him. Maybe that makes some sense. Okay. The other part of this,
to
Go
that
ahead.
point, maybe he has been playing right back, and maybe he has desires to be a right mid and kind of mix things up and play more of an attacking role. Yes, maybe his preferred, where he's been played has been at right back, but maybe he wants a change of scenery and he feels like he can do that role here. So that there's an argument that you could make that he'd be a successful right mid.
Yeah. I mean, certainly. And he's similar in a lot of ways, but better in a lot of ways as well, with going forward. Okay. And Julian Araujo's one knock right now is going forward. So if you put him at right mid, he's able to basically do the same thing that Julian Araujo and Rolf Felcher do, which is switch off in between these things, have the overlapping runs. Araujo was talking today about how it's still his job to get around the corner and to get into the attack. And that's one of the things that GBS wants him to do, is look for that and to be careful with when he picks those times, but definitely get forward and definitely get into the attack. That's how the LA Galaxy generate a lot of their offense, which, by the way, that's how a lot of teams generate offense, is overloads on the outside, cuts to the inside whenever you have overlapping runs into the attacking third. So that all makes sense. So you could put Yedlin in right mid and do that. Here's the other thing. We talked about Yoni Gonzalez being a temporary player, and we don't know if he's going to extend a loan past, this December. Really, it's December, and then he's gone. So you're talking about short term and all of this stuff. And the longer he sits in Brazil, the shorter term that loan continues to be. So you look at that. That's one of the reasons. But Julian Araujo is also a short timer. Right now, I think we have to sort of think of it that way. I know that Guillermo Barcelona is thinking that way. I know that Dennis Declosa is thinking that way, that Julian Araujo is not a long-term player for the LA Galaxy because he is going to go somewhere. I imagine he was going to go to Germany sometime. That seems like a likely landing spot for him. But we know that the biggest clubs in the world have been looking. I think Liverpool were interested. Maybe Manchester United was interested at one point as well. The biggest clubs in the world are looking at Julian Araujo. Because they see him as a motivated young man, and he is. And Guillermo Barcelona says it's unusual to find somebody who learns so quickly and so fast and is so comfortable in their shoes at 19 years old, right? So you could be getting Deandre Yedlin as in you might sell Julian Araujo this winter. I mean, that could happen. One of the things that you kind of need to do, Eric, is you kind of need to sell high on these kids. All right. You hold on to them for them too long, they get unmotivated or they get lazy being comfortable in the spot, and all of a sudden their value drops and that goes away. So Julian Araujo could bring a lot of money to this LA Galaxy team. And if you're going to get rid of him, having a veteran now at 27 years old, Deandre Yedlin in at right back is not a horrible thing to do. So don't just think this season, think next season as well.
That's a great point. And I think if you followed Julian's story, he also had ties to Barcelona Academy, the U.S. branch where, he was going to make a trip and was unable to make a trip due to some unfortunate circumstances in his family. So he's definitely someone who's on radar of clubs like that. And you're right, with Americans making the move abroad, it seems to be like they're a hot commodity right now. So you're right that it is something where maybe the thought is, well, Araujo's here, he's young. Why are we getting a replacement? Well, maybe you need a replacement. And if Yedlin's planning to be here by the end of the winter transfer, what's to say that there hasn't been contact from some of these clubs about Julian Araujo to make a transfer in the winter once the MLS season is complete? So maybe you're backfilling that role. Maybe DTK and the Galaxy know something we don't. They already have, some interest, some suitors from the outside inquiring. So maybe they're planning for that. That's a great point to point out that this isn't someone to take away minutes from Araujo, because Araujo might not be here.
Yeah. People are asking if he can play left back as well. If Deandre Yedlin can play left back, maybe. I mean, I don't know that you want to force him. He's always sort of been that right back, right mid sort of guy. So I don't know that you want to force him into that. Guillermo loves to invert his guys. So, maybe you play him at left mid. Maybe he's a replacement for Christian Pavone whenever Pavone goes away. By the way,
to stark drop off. I like Yedlin, but that's a big drop off.
You're like, no. I will tell you that as optimistic as I think everybody was about Christian Pavone staying, I think you're going to find out in the next week or 2 weeks that there's not a lot of optimism that that's going to happen. So the number, that $20 million number, probably is pretty close to what the actual deal on the paperwork says. Whether or not Boca is willing to take $12 million is certainly just a question mark in terms of sure, why not? Yeah, they also could take $2 million. I mean, I don't know how likely either of those are, right?
The Zlatan deal.
Yeah, and you're talking about a guy who is still well known around the world, people are watching him, right? And there are some teams that could drop $20 million on their way to the restroom and not even worry about it. So I think if you're really going to bet this out, and I know we've been wishy-washy on this, you should hear the things, then the ways things people talk, and it just goes back and forth, and it's sort of wishy-washy on a lot of this. But I am almost to the point now where I've been, because if you want to get a Christian Pavone jersey and you want it signed, you better do it like this year and figure out how you can track him down at his local store, because it ain't happening. I think that dude's gone in December. So just sort of keep that in mind as well. The LA Galaxy could be searching for a DP in December, and it's probably not going to be a re-sign for Christian Pavone. So I don't like to bring that kind of bad news. I know
that's upsetting. That's upsetting news, because I think we calibrated our minds to think. And here we go. Circus is going off behind me.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. This is what you get for having 3 dogs. All right.
Yeah, that is my fault.
Yes.
See, lost my train of thought here. Go on.
No, you're done.
I lost
you're done.
it.
I was going to say you're out. You have 2 wiener dogs, and you have the Boston Terrier, right? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yes,
I just wanted
Boston
to make. Yes.
Terrier.
Okay. Just wanted
That's
to check.
probably the one making the noise.
I was going to say absolutely, it's the one making the noise.
Oh, here we go. We calibrated our minds
yes.
that he was going. The 20 million was what they were asking, and we couldn't do it. And then a couple of weeks ago, you heard Boca's willing to accept more. Whatever Argentine outlet that slipped out of got our hopes up, and we thought, okay, maybe there's a chance for 10, 12 million. That's a no-brainer. You make it happen. And then now we're back at the 20 million. So that's the part that's frustrating. Is I already had my mindset that he was going to go. The price was too high. And then that little story that came out gave us a little bit of hope that maybe there's a chance. And then right now it seems like that's been dashed as well. So that's unfortunate.
By the way, Ramiro in the chat room brings up a great job. I imagine it's the same Ramiro, by the way, who's in our Discord and is always talking as well. So Ramiro, what's up, buddy? Says, what happened to Dennis DeClosa saying it was nowhere near $20 million? Okay, I think I answered that question. We'll see. You're going to get more news about this. Okay, I just can't give you all the news about it because it's not mine. I'm just giving you some little things here, little tidbits. That way you have a horrible weekend, because I told you Christian Pavone is probably not staying. There's the 20 million was probably in the paperwork, as in, if you're going to buy him, you can buy him, and there's nothing we can do to stop it for $20 million. I think the Galaxy were always under the assumption that they could get that for much less, right? And so I think that's where the difference is in terms of, oh, well, we could do it. But I also think that let's play a game that, like, if it was $12 million, but it's not really $12 million, it's considerably more, then it's 15 or 16, because 15 or 16, if you want to play the game where it's considerably less than 20, but considerably more than, lower numbers of 12, right? Then maybe 15 or 16 is it. By the way, Christian Pavone's not worth 15 or 16 million dollars either. Not for the LA Galaxy. For somebody else, certainly.
Yes.
It's not for the LA Galaxy.
With MLS rules and how franchises are run, is he worth 15 million? I mean, you could watch him play and say, absolutely, in the world market, he's worth 15 to 20 million.
Yeah.
But just for what the Galaxy do and what the league as a whole, they're not there yet where that's the price you can pay for players, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's one of those things. If you wanted to absolutely trigger a buy, you pay $20 million. I imagine that's how it works, right? But if you want to negotiate, then you're going to have to negotiate under that. And I just don't think it's happening. Anyway, we'll talk more about that probably on the Monday show. So just everybody buckle up for this weekend.
Next week, there'll be an outlet reporting that they're willing to make the deal for $9 million. And then we'll be back in. Just when I think I'm out, they bring me back in.
Go and totally redeem yourself. LA Galaxy weekly schedule. Let's see, it's Thursday. The Galaxy had their media availability. I'm sure you can find the videos of that up. I watched all that. It was a little longer today as they were trying to rein everybody in and get them all there. The Galaxy will train on Friday, and then there's a game, 7:30 p.m. Against the Colorado Rapids. So that's coming up. We've already talked about the schedule that we know of. There will be more games coming up. So Saturday is Colorado Rapids. Wednesday, Real Salt Lake. Ooh, let's talk about tickets at Real Salt Lake, because that's been big in the Discord, and I've been seeing it on Facebook as well. If you want to go to this game, you can. Call the RSL ticket office right now and tell them that you want to go. I think you have to buy tickets in 2s and 4s, and they space everybody out, and they do it. I would implore you to be careful if you decide to do this. I was driving through Utah. Sometimes places in Utah don't think that they actually need to wear masks. That is probably, I don't know that closer to Salt Lake that's an issue, but certainly down in the flatlands, down in St. George and some of the other places that are right on the border of Arizona, that was the case. So just be careful. I'm generally one of these people who believes that if you go somewhere, you're outside, you wear a mask, and you stay away from people, that you're probably pretty safe. But you are increasing your risk if you go. Okay, that's bottom line. But if you want to go to this game, you can. All right. So I think the cap is 5,000 people that they're allowing in the stadium. And they have not hit that cap as of yet. So it's one of those things. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think any of places are hitting their capacity there. So that's, if you're going to put positive spin, and again, of course, I'm going to play both sides of the coin here. The positive spin, these places aren't hitting their caps. So if you go, you travel safely, you do everything the right way, you're spread out, you're distanced, it's outdoors, not a high risk. You're not putting yourself in a high risk situation. Absolutely.
It's an increased risk.
Yes.
It's an increased risk. It's just not a high risk situation. I just want everybody to know.
Here's where the concern, you're not going in groups of 2 or 4 and then staying with those groups of 2 or 4. You're going to probably meet up with other Galaxy fans. You're going to see other people traveling. There may be a temptation to get together. And so you don't know where these people have been in their homes and where they're working at.
Don't do it.
Their exposures. And then now you're getting together with them in Salt Lake. And now you're, increasing that environment there. And then now you're all coming back and you're spreading that back. So proceed with caution. Be smart about it.
Wait.
That's my recommendation.
I got to ask you this question. Whenever you were in, let's say, junior high, high school, did they do like the STD talk with you about, and like you had a little vial of liquid and you went and poured it in somebody else's vial of liquid, right? And they go around and then you got to see how everything's spread. That's what's happening here. Okay. So I mean, as awkward as that was, because they made you do that. And we were all like, this is, I think I'm getting embarrassed about it now.
Yeah. I'm turning red just hearing about it.
Right. I was just thinking back to what that was like. I think it was in high school, like freshman year, that we did that in like biology, or maybe it was junior high in like 8th grade or something like that. We did, but just remember those lessons that you learned there is, and you tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends. It's the same thing. All right. Exponential growth. Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. What did you want to finish up? Did you have you were gonna talk about both sides? Did you want to talk about one side?
The positive side is that it's outdoors. You're not going to be around people. It's relatively low risk. But the negative side is there's a temptation to hang out with other Galaxy fans, and that's you've bonded over Twitter during a pandemic, and you want to meet other people there, and you want to high five and celebrate if things go well. It could be a recipe for disaster, just from some things that I've seen from watch parties and other situations where people, maybe getting a little, and maybe, I don't know, I'm going to stop talking. So I'm not, there's a specific guy I know who's going to come after me. So I'm just going to be quiet.
You're going to let it go.
Be smart out there.
You're going to have to mute somebody. That's what's going to happen. By the way, there's the chat room is saying COG After Dark. That was from Ulysses. And then Max says, is this Loveline? So anyway, it's all good. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, you can do that. So I wanted to tell you about Real Salt Lake. I talked to my good friend, name drop, Brian Dunseth, about this because I didn't know about it. And so he sort of keyed me in the right way. And I think I pointed people in the right direction. I hope I did. So yeah, I know there's people who are getting tickets. I see it in the Facebook groups. I see it in the Discord. So you can go to that game. Just wanted to give you a heads up. If you don't, listen, I know it's just killing people. I absolutely do. I'm totally lucky because I get to go to games. I realize that I'm not taking it for granted. I promise you, I'm excited to see live soccer every time I go. It's exciting and I love it. And it's why I've been covering, this team since 2009 is because I enjoy live soccer. I enjoy seeing what the LA Galaxy are going to do, win or lose. It's always interesting, win or lose for them. So anyway, so there's that. And then Sunday, September 27th, Seattle Sounders at Dignity Health Sports Park, not the makeup game. So that was interesting. All right. Injury update, just real quick. Danilo Costa continues his training at the stadium. I don't know if you've been watching his social media, but he is there. I still do not expect him to be ready to play anytime soon. The outside and running on the field or in any sort of training is not happening. So that continues to be sort of a long term. Maybe by the time the playoffs come around, there's a chance.
Roman Alessandrini last season had a very similar injury, and the time frames kind of line up. This was in a preseason game in February. We're now in September, near October. This is about the time that Alessandrini came back. I believe it was end of, middle of September, beginning of October, because October was when the playoff El Tráfico occurred. So somewhere in there, he made the return. So, maybe in that phase 3 or whatever the official name is, maybe those last few games, maybe we can play some bets. Who do we see first? Do we see Yoni first or do we see Danilo first? I think.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's Danny Acosta. I like it. Absolutely. That's a good call. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. With that, just real quick on your standings before we take a quick look at this Colorado game. The conference standings: best team in the West right now, Sporting Kansas City. Best team in the East, Columbus Crew. Of those two teams, Sporting Kansas City is the better team. Columbus is playing also like they're playing really bad teams. That's really where most of that comes from right now. It's been a very unbalanced schedule so far. So some teams have taken advantage of that. Quite honestly, the LA Galaxy are on a ridiculously tough schedule in terms of what they first played, and they got a ton of points from it. So if you're looking at a team that could have a softer schedule playing against Colorado, RSL's sort of a coin flip right now. And we'll talk about Colorado not necessarily being an easy game either. But there are chances here for the LA Galaxy to actually, pick up some wins. And the Galaxy are on 10 games played. There are teams on 11 games played. So they have a game in hand and this is happening. So there's a lot of good stuff for the LA Galaxy right now. Sort of looking at what what they can do, and their positioning and all of that. Columbus Crew, like I said, best team in soccer right now, Major League Soccer, under almost LA Galaxy head coach Caleb Porter. So 24 points right now for Columbus Crew. Philadelphia Union 21, Toronto 21. You want to talk about an easier schedule? Toronto's played Vancouver and Montreal. They've been some upsets in those games. They haven't won them all, but they've won most of them. And so they've been pretty good. Then Sporting Kansas City, Orlando City, of course, Orlando City. Oscar Pareja, the man does not stop. I swear to God, listen, I really like Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. I was questioning him earlier. I think, I see what he's been trying to do, and he's been doing better. That's great. If you want to talk about one coach, I would just love to see what he could do with the LA Galaxy is Oscar Pareja, because everywhere he goes outside of the Jolos, he does really well, and he's fun to watch, and he does it with limited sort of, budgets. So can he make it with like a big budget team like the LA Galaxy? It would be great to watch. So Orlando City in 5th place right now, Seattle in 6th, Minnesota in 7th, Montreal, New York City, FC Dallas, LAFC, and the LA Galaxy. Those are your top 12 as they see. Worst team, Major League Soccer, Inter Miami. So all the way down there at the bottom. So that's sort of where we stand on standings. Any surprises in there, Eric? Anything that you see?
No surprises. I mean, it all kind of comes out on the wash. Who do you see at the bottom? The Rapids, the Whitecaps, and the Earthquakes. I mean, it's no matter whether it's a pandemic season, if it's a regular season, it just seems to always kind of shake out that way. But the one thing that I will say is that, and we're going to talk about it, is we've seen this movie before. Galaxy playing well, they're heating up, everything's going well, and then Colorado's coming into town. Colorado's at the bottom of the table, and what happens? You inevitably lose that game to Colorado. All right, you're riding high. Montreal's coming in. They're flying all the way from Montreal, and then they give you a close game. Whitecaps are coming into town. They're bottom of the barrel league. Home opener, you get Chicharito. What happens? You lose that game. So we've seen that movie where the Galaxy are riding high, and they have high, they maybe don't take the game seriously, and they have that letdown. So that's where Colorado scares me a little bit is, you have those 4 wins in a row. You look like you're on fire. Pavone looks like he's unstoppable. Then you run into a little bit of a rough patch against San Jose. Literally on the field, there were rough patches of the field. And then now, Colorado's an expected win, and maybe they take it for granted. So I'd like to see them finally put away the boogeyman that the Colorado Rapids have been for the last few seasons.
Hey, last few seasons, I remember Connor Casey used to just harass that big bald villain would be out there scoring like 17 goals every game.
And he got his first win as a coach against the Galaxy a couple of years ago also. Yeah. Connor Casey, we don't like him around here.
By the way, the stadium I've been to more than any other stadium outside of Dignity Health Sports Park is the Colorado Rapids, because my son lives in Colorado. So whenever we're there, I would take him to Colorado Rapids games because you know what? It's soccer, and soccer's soccer. That stadium is like, some high school stadium. It's funny because it's laid out almost exactly the same as Dignity Health Sports Park, just without anything nice. Basically, that's what it is. It's like they took all the bones of it, but didn't really make it as big as it should have been. So
with just a touch of the plague added in.
I was going to say, I knew you were going to go there. The prairie dogs around there have the plague, yes, and it's out in the field, and there's houses around it now, which is a little bit different. But anyway, let's get to this game. The LA Galaxy facing off against the Colorado Rapids, coming up on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Kickoff time. It is on Spectrum Sportsnet. Warning you now, it's on Spectrum Sportsnet. Real Salt Lake game, Spectrum Sportsnet. Seattle game, Spectrum Sportsnet. That Seattle game, by the way, might be picked up international or not internationally, but nationally. We'll see if that ends up happening. But right now, it's listed as Spectrum Sportsnet. So you're going to have trouble finding this game, and if you want to complain, you should, because it's getting ridiculous. But the LA Galaxy primarily aren't going to do much because we talked about this because they want their $5 million, and they still have $10 million left on that. So they want to get all $10 million, and then they will find a new place. But it's not going to be happening this year. But I'd still complain anyway. Colorado, like a lot of teams right now, Eric, and I think we have to be prepared for this. There's going to be lopsided results, and there's going to be large swings in results. And if you pay attention, I think you can find out which team is sort of the first team and which team is the rotated team, because teams are rotating right now. So on Saturday night, Colorado beat RSL 5-0 at RSL. And then on Wednesday night, they got their butts kicked 4-1 by Dallas in Dallas. So
you're doing the math there.
Yeah.
The good team played a week ago.
Yes.
The bad team played yesterday. And
Yes.
so we're probably going to get to see the good team on Saturday. The only thing is this is going to be their third consecutive road trip. So, we saw the adversity that the Galaxy faced when they, went to Portland, and when they went to San Jose, had the of the games since the restart. Those are the two games where maybe were a little shakier. So maybe we'll see if that's able to, the Galaxy are able to take advantage of the Rapids traveling three times in a row now.
Yeah, it's we'll see how that ends up going. It's going to be interesting.
It's supposed to work out a specific way, but those games never go our way.
No, they don't. They don't go the way that they're supposed to. It's funny though. You look at this and you see that Shinyashiki and like Rosenberry and Irwin. So Irwin played against Dallas, and that was the loss. I'm trying to really figure out like how they rotated here, and they've been rotating a lot of players. So it's not straight up first team, second team type of thing. They've been rotating guys into like 3 different rotations as it goes. So I have no idea which team is going to show up. Regardless of that fact, they have to travel the same day of the game. They have to get in LA, and then they have to play. And they've been traveling, and they've been on the road, and they've been doing things. So looking at all those things, the Galaxy are favored. They should be favored, and it shouldn't really even be that close. Quite honestly, the Galaxy should win this game going away. Having said that, all right, what was that?
538?
Hold on, not yet. I have some stats. Let me give you stats first, and then we're gonna go to it. The Galaxy haven't lost since their 6-2 loss against LAFC in the MLS's back tournament. That's 6 games unbeaten. They have outscored their opponents 12-4 during that stretch. They have 3 shutouts during that stretch. They're on a shutout streak of 180 minutes right now. And so those are sort of the things that work in their way. But as Larry said in his article, I'm going to quote directly from the article. He says, but they could face a formidable opponent in the Rapids, who did lose at FC Dallas 4-1 on Wednesday night, but won both meetings with the Galaxy a year ago and have not lost at Dignity Health Sports Park since the 2017 season. A win or a tie on Saturday would stretch the Galaxy's unbeaten run to 7 games, their longest since going 6-0-1 early in 2019. So that's Larry sort of saying up. The Galaxy don't beat Colorado, so that's not something that happens very often. So 538 tells us what, Eric?
Well, first of all, it's a bizarro thing because 2017, the worst Galaxy season ever.
Right.
That's the season where they got the win
Yes.
against Colorado, which is interesting. But 538, as we know, it hasn't been really pulling in the Galaxy's favor for any of these matches. But this is where it finally turns. So the Galaxy have a 54% chance in the win column. They're giving Colorado a 25% chance and then a 21% chance for a draw. So pretty heavy favorites. If you're looking at it, twice as likely to win than they are to lose. So again, on paper, it all makes sense. It all makes sense that the Galaxy should walk away victorious, having a week rest. Colorado, who's going to be traveling, they traveled midweek. They'll be traveling for the 3rd game in a row. It seems like it's all lining up this way, but that's why the games aren't played on paper; they're played on the field. So I think the Galaxy are due for a spanking. Not of their own giving, but to dish out. We haven't really seen that 4-0, 5-0, that blowout performance from this team. That this could be an opportunity for us to finally see that 7-2 style Sporting Kansas City Central American night from last season, something like that. I think they're due for one of those games.
Yeah, the straight up odds on the MLS website. By the way, did you realize that MLS has odds on their website? Yes, they do. Sports betting is here. It's coming. Yeah, plus 290 for Colorado. That's a large number. $100 wins you 290. That's large. That's a good number. If
Don't
you're
do it.
betting,
That's bad juju.
that's the
Don't do
line.
it.
That's the line. Galaxy minus 118. All right, just wanted to let you know. So not really getting your value out of that one. So that's where you sort of sit there with the LA Galaxy, Colorado Rapids. I would like to point out, because Larry sort of said, the LA Galaxy have outscored their opponents 12-4 during that stretch. You know that I keep projection goals. They're straight projections. There's no magic formula behind this. This is basically in a 34-game season, you've scored this many goals per game. And so we project that out over 34 games. So there's nothing magical about these particular predictions. The one thing that I will say is that in this particular projection, it's never going to get to 34 games because they're only playing 23, right? So that's not happening. But we can still project what it would be in a 34-game season. So that way you can compare it to the other 34-game seasons that I have data for as well. So the LA Galaxy in 2018 finished with scoring 66 goals, giving up 64. 2019 was scoring 58 goals, giving up 59. And the LA Galaxy in 2020 right now are predicted to score 54.4 goals and give up 51 goals. Okay. So if you look at between 2018 and 2020 on the projections, you're looking at 64 goals given up and now 51 goals given up. So
I think
you're trying to see the trend, right? 59, it would be 8 goals better than on the defensive side of things from 2019 to 2020. So the Galaxy are 8 goals in this small sort of 10-game sample size that we have. So just understand that's where we're sort of looking at here. I want you to sort of compare, but the Galaxy obviously aren't scoring as many goals either, Eric. Right now predicted at 54, and Zlatan got them 66 and 58. So it's a lot of goals.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that passes the eyeball test, because this offense isn't as good as it was with Zlatan, and you see that, so that the projected goals isn't going to be as high. So that's fair that if you project it out, that's probably where they deserve to land if the trend continues. And the defense, I think, is considerably better, especially since Nick DePuy has joined the lineup, and they've been playing a lot better team defense this season. So the defense is considerably better. The offense not quite as good, not quite there. So if you look at this team and watch them play, and you tell me those numbers, and then you watch the previous 2 seasons, the math checks out. I think that confirms what our eyes have been seeing this season.
All right. So a win for the Galaxy. Win, lose, draw.
Yes. It's a win.
Okay.
It's win. I'm going to say that they do what they're supposed to do, and they win, and they win big.
They win. I don't know that it'll probably be one of those 3-2 games that they're very good at making, and a win is a win, and you take the 3 points and you move on because you did what you were supposed to do. And, I kind of like the fact that the shutout streak is mounting in minutes, because that provides good positive pressure, I think, for Galaxy defenders to be like, we can't let him score. Like, it's a thing now. We are doing a thing right now. We are not letting people score. And you can say, isn't that every game? It's different when those minutes start to rack up, right? Yeah. It's like, listen, we've already done this for 180 minutes. Let's throw another, 270. Sure. Let's go for it.
You give just that little extra piece of effort, and especially a player like David Bingham, who, has been up and down. If you say, I've got a 180 minute, scoreless streak here, I need to keep it alive. And instead of standing still on a free kick, maybe he gives a little more effort and, hits the turbo boosters to make a leap for it. Or maybe he wouldn't on a regular day, but when he has in the back of his head that minute streak, maybe that motivates him a little bit more, it's what you want. It's what you want your defenders and your goalkeeper doing.
Yeah, it should be interesting. 7:30 p.m. kickoff time. I will be there. So if you guys want anything, I'll have I've been streaming the warm-ups whenever there's warm-ups. I usually just put it on my Instagram, so you can go to Galaxy Podcast. I'll probably stream the warm-ups again. It's not like I'm close to the warm-ups. I'm far away, but it's something.
You're actually in the neighborhood of my season seats, so it makes me feel like home, if nothing else, since I can't.
Okay, good. I'm glad that
so
that works.
It's appreciated on my end.
Before we get out of here, Max in the chat room asked us and says that last night's Squadcast, so Riot Squadcast, did this question, so we should probably play this game because it's a quick game too. He says, Max says, Josh and Hammer, all-time most hated MLS player. Got the idea from last night's LA Riot. I always say this, the Riot Squadcast. I know. I always want to put LA Riot Squad. It's too hard for me to say. Yeah. Chris knows I'm an idiot, so it's not a problem. So most hated MLS player. I have a weird one. It's not Omar Gonzalez, so don't think it's Omar Gonzalez. Yeah, you're like Josh is gonna say Omar Gonzalez. No, that's not.
I feel like do I go first? Do you want me to
you
go
can.
First?
I can go first. I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
There's one that it's the first name that pops up in my mind,
Right.
And I feel like if I were given, time to brush up and study, maybe I'd pick someone else. But when I
Right.
think of most hated players, I can't remember hating a player more than Steven Leonard
Yeah, I was
from San Jose. I think that's an easy pick, just
Right.
how annoying he was, how scrappy
Right.
he was. And
Right.
just, he was a thorn in the side whenever he came to town, and just made you angry whenever you saw him lined up on the other side of the field. So that's the first name that pops into my head. So trust your gut. That's, in my memory, that's the most hated MLS player. I don't know about league wide,
Right.
but for all teams, if that's the right answer, but as a
Right.
Galaxy fan, that's the number one answer.
Yeah. Me. Yeah. I understand. Let's see. Names that have been thrown out in the chat room is Beckerman, Mark Anthony K. Which that's a new one.
Bias,
yeah. That's a Alave, which I thought was good. Victor Bernardes. You have to go back to when RSL was really good under Jason Christ to hate those guys, but I get it. Bernardes played with San Jose.
Olave also, right? And weren't they on the same squad? Yeah,
they might have been at the same time. Lenhart, everybody's obviously on that one. Do you know who mine? Do you know who mine is? I have specific reasons for this.
And it's not Omar Gonzalez.
It's Nat Borchers.
Okay, that's a good answer.
It's a great answer, and I'm going to tell you why. Nat Borchers did two things that I think are unforgivable. And he severely hurt one player doing it, and he almost killed another player, but that player was smart enough to jump. Okay. He broke Jack McBean's collarbone.
Don't forget that.
And that was when Jack was young.
He's a boy, just a young child. That's child abuse.
He was like, what, 17, I think, or 8? Yeah, 17. And he was playing, and they scored a goal on the ball that he dummied through, but Borchers came through and broke his collarbone. So that's one reason. And then he tried to murder Giassi Zardes.
Yep.
You knew it. I was like, the slide tackle that went unpunished. He absolutely got up in the air, feet out along the sidelines. Giassi's going down, and Borchers comes in and is going to kill him. And Zardes at the last second got up on his feet. Wasn't even a foul called on the play. And if you watch that replay now, somebody would get red carded for that play. It would go to Vieira and it would be red card.
I think just thinking about that tackle, you get a red card nowadays. One more honorable mention that I'll give is Ozzy Alonso. But I've turned the corner a little bit because he's someone who I know if he was on your squad, you'd love to have him on your squad. Yeah. So I kind of respect that a little bit, but he's unlikable. But I think that's on purpose, and he does his job for doing that. That to me is a little bit of a mark of a good player. When you wish they were on your team and that you would have rooted for him. Leonard, I don't know if I would have liked him even if he was on our team. So I think he's still my number one, but honorable mention to Ozzy Alonso.
I had another one and I forgot who it was. Like there was one more where I was like, oh yeah, this one to me makes some sense, but I don't remember now and it's gone. So, fleeting moment. It was in the head for a little bit. All right. Galaxy play Colorado Rapids coming up 7:30 p.m. Spectrum Sportsnet on Saturday night. So you can check it out there. Please hit me with any of your messages on Twitter prior to the game. I'll do my best to answer all that stuff and get you all the information that we have from the game. One comes in late. Deuce comes in at the buzzer. I know I'm not allowed to say it. I always like Clint. Just say it. You can say it. Yeah.
Ever since his rap career,
that was it. Okay.
Me, that he had me.
Right. I understand. No problems. Oh, I remembered who my hated one is. It's an off the wall one. I guess I only have off the wall ones. Luke Rogers. And it was more because I couldn't stand that he was jawing with people like he was somebody. And that was one of the things. And Landon Donovan even got in on that. That's how you made Landon Donovan speak out about something. And Donovan was always pretty much Mr. PR whenever it came to a lot of things. So, by the way,
good
Philip says, what? No Geo? And I'm like, no, I don't think he rises to that level in Galaxy fans' mind. I
don't think that's the way the question was framed. I don't think that's the type of guy they were going for. But
Chris and Ben always come up with good questions. I always like hearing their questions.
Yeah,
doing that. So thanks for throwing that in there, Max. And by the way, we give all the credit for that question to Riot Squadcast. We're not going to
listen to their answers. They're probably
way more colorful than ours. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so that's where we sit. Anything else, Eric, that you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, I gotta get back to the dogs and the children.
And the children, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna sleep on the couch tonight. I can just feel
probably. Yeah, you should. I would agree. Let's see. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, and don't screw up your Twitter handle, and we'll get on out of here.
Like I said, this is a moment of nerves here because see if I can get this right. So you can find me on Twitter at Hammer EV. That's Hammer and then the initials EV. I've changed it up. Rest in peace to the guys in shorts, no longer a thing. So change the Twitter at, and then you could always find me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL.
All right. And by the way, the EV stands for electric vehicle, so you can plug Eric in. That's why you did it. Yes, obviously. If you're looking for me on Twitter at Guesman, I didn't change anything. It's always been the same. At Galaxy Podcast, of course. Please head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Go to our Discord. The link will be in this in the show notes for this, whether you're on SoundCloud or Spotify or iTunes or anything. The link is right there. You can click on it and you can go to our Discord. There are more than 600 people in that Discord. It is usually pretty active. It's very active during games, so you can be there and talking to people. There's some great trades going on and some of the different things. So head on over to that. And they even let me talk about my flight simulator stuff in Off the Rails. So
I was going to say, I'm going to promote the Discord as well. You know, there's a lot of different channels, something for everyone, not all right. Galaxy talk. Head in there, something for everybody.
All right. I think that about does it for Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer. I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.